Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Roman Szmal's Aquarius watercolor paints. If you are familiar with my channel, you will recognize that name as I have shown them off a bit in previous unboxings because it is a brand I love, but I'm going to get into why that is in a minute. First, let me just go over what Roman Szmal's is and a little bit of their information. So Roman Szmal's Aquarius is a small handmade watercolor company, and you can purchase their paints through Jackson's online. Jackson's is a UK company that ships internationally, which is why I'm able to access them here in Canada. And the Roman Szmal's come in full pan sizes. In only full pan sizing. Now, that is a rarity when it comes to watercolor paints because typically watercolors come in a couple of options such as tubes and half pans. And then there are some companies like, say, Schminke that give you the option of all of the options, which are their regular size tubes, which is 15 ml, then small tubes, then half pans and full pans. Now, why are they only available in full pans? I'm not 100% sure. There's no way for me to access that kind of information. However, I do suspect it has something to do with the fact that as a company, they make all their paints in small batches. And it is easier to then do that, especially when it's by hand, to place them into pans. As for why full pan and not half pan, I'm not sure. But I love the fact that they are full pan paints because of the fact that these last for so long. And the benefits to using a full pan versus a half pan size has it'll give your brushes a better longevity, basically. So hear me out. Half pans are super great for traveling because you can take multiple colors with you in a small container. But if you use big paintbrushes, eventually it'll wear down at the bristles. Whereas full pans with their large opening give you the opportunity to use larger brushes and not wear down the bristles. That being said, a small part of me and a teeny tiny part of me wishes that Roman Szmal's gave you the option of half pans and full pans, only because there is that part of me that thinks it'd be really great to take all these, like a bunch of colors with me on the go to the park or to my favorite floral gardens and paint while I'm there. In reality, I don't do that. I paint from home where I have access to water and all this stuff. Typically because when I'm out and about, I like actually just enjoying nature in person. I bring my phone or a camera and I take photos. I have my puppy with me. And, it's about being there in the moment versus sitting down and painting, and I would worry about my dog licking my paint. Anyways, the point is I don't do that. So it's not a big deal for me. So that might be for some people, but I just love having full pans that are going to last me a long time and that I can put in my palette and work in the studio or, at the kitchen table with them. Something that's so great about Roman Szmal's Aquarius watercolor paint is the fact that this company has over 150 colors. And every year they appear to be adding a few new ones as things progress and different color combinations are available and different pigments become available. They do have your typical classic colors like Hansa Yellow Light and Cobalt Blue and French Ultramarine, but they also have their own little variations and their own pigment combinations too to create some colors that are known to us. So, for example, Cobalt Blue is typically a vibrant blue that's quite opaque. And for them, the pigment that they're using for this is PB28. But they also have a transparent option, which is called Aquarius Cobalt Blue, and they're using a different pigment for it. It's PB72. This company also uses single pigments for their paints. Now, there are a couple of colors in there that are going to have multiple colors, such as the olive green light, which is a green that I absolutely love, and I use it quite frequently in my color mixing. And it's made with PB29, PY129, PY150, and PBR25. This is a rarity. They don't have a lot of colors that use so many pigments, but I just want to put it out there. They do have a small, tiny handful of colors that do, but the majority of their colors are single pigment colors. It's time now. Let's get to the good stuff. The part that made me fall in love with these paints to the point where I am constantly buying new ones. And that is the quality of the paint. It is amazing. They re-wet spectacularly. All I have to do is spritz them once or twice, and then I can pick paint off with my paintbrush and not have to constantly wipe my brush around, which means a little goes a long way. As well as the fact that even colors that are typically difficult for re-wetting, like French ultramarine blues, ultramarine violets, and ultramarine pinks, because they are harder pigments, they typically take more effort to re-wet when in pan, but not the Roman Szmals. I spritz them, I put my paintbrush down, and I am good to go. And a little bit, I really do mean it, a little bit goes a long way when it comes to using these paints. Another thing that I absolutely love about them is the way they look. So there can be quite a bit of color shifting when it comes to what your paints look like wet versus dry. And not every brand is the same. I like the minimal amount of color shift that you get with the Roman Szmals. I like also the textures I get with my paints once they're dry. So in some companies, you can get colors that are highly granulating, and then others that are super smooth. And super smooth colors are like your quinacridomes. They typically have no granulation whatsoever, and they'll be flat. Where your ultramarine colors will be highly granulating because of the type of pigment that they're used, which means they're just more texturalized. I like these paints because they are a combination of the two. They're smooth yet granulating. When you mix different colors together, you get a beautiful combination. I love how the colors spread within one another. So if you do wet on wet and the way they bloom into each other, I love how colors, reach out, how they intermix with one another. I also really like how I can layer with them. Some watercolor paints, because they are highly reactive, so that once you put it down and it dries and then you go to put a layer on top, they just lift back up. I like how these aren't like that. I like that I can put a layer down and put a next layer on top of it and then another layer and do whatever I need to do with them. I also like how they work so well with my mixed media things that I do in my sketchbook. I can put them down and then draw over it with my Posca pens, or I can sketch over it with my colored pencils, or I can go over it with my gouache. And yes, sometimes depending on if I've got too much water on my paintbrush, I then sort of reactivate the paints when I put it down there. But if I'm putting down my gouache properly, like in the proper, creamy consistency that it is, versus me being sloppy and messy, and anyways, the point is they work well with a multitude of supplies. So they are great for people who are using art as a means to be creative and expressive and heal. They are great for people that love doing mixed media. They're great for watercolor artists that like to layer. The last thing I want to touch on, as for the reason why I'm absolutely in love with this paint, has nothing to do with the quality of colors or the fact that you can do really soft layers with really dark, pigmented, vibrant colors, and it has everything to do with its price range. In my opinion, the Roman Szmal's Aquarius watercolor paints are high quality artist grade paint. And when you compare that to other high quality artist grade paints like, say, Schmincke or Daniel Smith, you are looking at paints that cost $20 to $30 depending on the color, which in my opinion is a little ridiculous, especially if you're first getting into watercolors or you use watercolor as a medium for exploring and healing from anxiety, stress, or any other things that you are battling. You want to be able to have a reasonable price bracket for buying your art supplies, and that's what Roman Szmal's is. Now, keep in mind, my prices are also Canadian, but for example, you can get a Roman Szmal's color for $7.40 or $4.25. It all depends on the color, and it varies, especially if things are on sale or not, but this is an achievable price range for the amazing quality. I am going to leave a link in the description to Jackson's website in case you are interested in purchasing it. These links are not affiliate, as I do not have that at this time. I hope this video was useful for you and has provided you with some information that will help you on your journey towards healing with art. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. But most importantly, if you have any comments or questions, definitely leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And before we reach the end, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this community, for watching this video and taking part in the discussion of the Roman Szmal's watercolor paint. And until next time, stay magical.